Folks, let me be clear from the start that public safety in Minneapolis is not negotiable.
The head of Border Patrol says there's no sign of this immigration surge slowing down. Thanks for joining us. The feds have served subpoenas and new charges could be coming at any moment against church protesters.
There are several major developments happening now in the federal crackdown. Here are the 4 things you need to know.
ICE is going to be too rough with somebody, or, they're dealing with rough people. They're going to make a mistake. Sometimes it can happen.
Number 1, the president defending ISIS actions and spent more than 10 minutes showing mugshots that he says are from Minnesota.
Number 2, subpoenas served. The Justice Department wants to see the records from offices of the governor, Twin Cities mayors, and the attorney general. We'll tell you why. Plus,
Number 3, the federal government is vowing to punish dozens of protesters who stormed a church. A pastor there works for ICE. One of the demonstrators just said she's not scared. And
the officer had their guns drawn during this interaction.
Number 4, agents demanding a police officer prove she's a citizen. Metro chiefs say that is just one example of ICE taking things too far.
And we have live team coverage of all of those headlines. First, those federal subpoenas served to state and local leaders. Caroline Cummings is live at the Capitol. And Caroline, the governor got one of those letters from the Department of Justice.
Yeah, that's right, Aaron. So did the mayors of Minneapolis and St. Paul and Attorney General Keith Ellison. They all confirmed that they did receive subpoenas this morning. Now, sources tell CBS News officials in Hennepin and Ramsey counties also were served subpoenas, but it's unclear who those officials are at this hour. We did obtain the subpoena sent to Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey's office. In it, the feds are seeking records dating back to January 1st, 2025, like policies and procedures related to federal immigration enforcement in Minnesota, communications between the mayor's office and any other government entities like the governor's office about immigration enforcement, and all records related to compliance or non-compliance with ICE detainers.
Tells me that the federal government is going to be proceeding full speed ahead. It tells me that they're very serious about this. I still think it's a stretch that these officials supposedly had some conspiracy to obstruct federal officials from doing their job. I simply don't see the evidence there. However, be that as it may, all these officials will have to deal with this.
In a statement to us, Mayor Frey said in part, quote, when the federal government weaponizes its power to try to intimidate local leaders for doing their jobs, every American should be concerned. We shouldn't have to live in a country where people fear that federal law enforcement will be used to play politics or crack down on local voices they disagree with. Governor Walz, in a statement, called the Department of Justice's investigation, quote, a partisan distraction, and said, quote, Minnesota will not be intimidated into silence, and neither will I. Now, it's important to note here, I've been talking to some attorneys this afternoon, and it's just because these officials have been served subpoenas does not mean they themselves are subject to any federal investigation. We do know, and we reported last week, that Frey and Walz are subject to a federal probe into an alleged conspiracy to obstruct federal immigration enforcement. And according to that Frey subpoena that we obtained, there's a 2-week deadline here for his office to file any objections, which would basically be asking a court to dismiss this subpoena. Aaron.
Okay, Caroline, live for us. Thank you so much.
The leaders of the Twin Cities ICE operation say that their agents haven't done anything wrong.
Yes, Esme Murphy is actually just back from that update with the head of the Border Patrol. Esme?
Hi there, Aaron and Amelia. The head of ICE operations here in the Twin Cities held a news conference this afternoon saying ICE is successfully taking thousands of dangerous criminals off Twin Cities streets. We should note they have not been able to back up those numbers, and we have not been able to verify them independently. Border Patrol Commander Greg Bovino said public safety is non-negotiable, and he denied that the operation here in any way is political. He sharply criticized both Mayor Jacob Frey and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz for encouraging what he says are lawless protests by agitators. And Bovino directly addressed one of the most frequent criticisms from the public, that the tactics used by ICE agents in the Twin Cities are excessive and inappropriate.
Those tactics are born of necessity. What we do is legal, ethical, and moral. Everything we do every day is legal, ethical, moral, well-grounded in law. So I would impugn upon those police chiefs and anyone else, elected representatives, and you have to remember, many of these police chiefs do work for the Mayor Freys of the world, that turn over those illegal aliens.
The commander and his second command, Marcos Charles, said there is no indication when this operation will stop. And he insisted, as he has before, that this operation was taking place on behalf of who he calls Ma and Pa America, who he says are firmly behind ICE operations.
Okay, Esme, thank you so much. Well, the mayor of Minnesota's capital city says she's livid after ICE agents brought an American citizen out of his home in his underwear.
Really? Are you kidding me? Look at him!
ICE agents were caught on camera bringing Chung Lee Tao out in the freezing cold on Sunday. He says ICE broke through his door without a warrant before detaining him at gunpoint. Mayor Kali Her says his mom and her mother-in-law worked together at a hospital in Laos during the secret war in the 1960s. Once in America, Mayor Her says their relatives continued to see one another.
And I want people to see this not because this person is personally close to me, but to see this as the representation of what has been happening in our cities here, that we are not exaggerating when we are saying that our cities are under siege.
DHS says these were the two men they were after when they detained Tao. They're both wanted for sex crimes and are still at large.
We won't stop fighting till ICE is gone. Till ICE is gone.
New video from inside a Target store in St. Paul yesterday. Protesters staged a sit-in demanding that the Minneapolis-based company prohibit ICE agents from operating in its stores and parking lots. This follows outrage after federal agents aggressively arrested 2 Target employees outside the Richfield store earlier this month. A state lawmaker says that the men were roughed up and released. Both of them were U.S. citizens. The president spent more than 10 minutes off the top of this White House briefing today showing the mugshots of people that he said have been arrested in Minnesota. You can see they have charges and countries, but no names and no way for us to verify them. He says that he's trying to change the narrative here.
Minnesota is so much in the fray, and I say to my people all the time, and they're so busy doing other things, they don't say it like they should. They're apprehending murderers and drug dealers and a lot of bad people.
The president also shared his thoughts on the killing of Renee Good. That part of the story coming up all new at 5.
An off-duty police officer held at gunpoint by federal immigration agents despite being a U.S. citizen and a member of a local police department. Derek James has more on this incident that local law enforcement says is becoming more common, Derek.
That's right, Aaron. We learned about the encounter today as Metro Police Chiefs and the Hennepin County Sheriff called for better lawful ICE enforcement. They say that incident is part of a troubling pattern they warn is violating civil rights and eroding public trust.
When she became concerned about the rhetoric and the way she was being treated, she pulled out her phone. In an attempt to record the incident, the phone was knocked out of her hands, preventing her from recording it. The officer had their guns drawn during this interaction, and after the officer became so concerned, they were forced to identify themselves as a Brooklyn Park police officer in hopes of slowing the incident and de-escalating the incident down.
That off-duty officer is a U.S. citizen, a member of Brooklyn Park Police, and person of color. Her chief, Mark Bruley, says ICE left only after she identified herself without explanation or apology. Bruley and the other law enforcement leaders who spoke say every officer who has reported similar encounters is also a person of color, and that what's happening to police mirrors complaints coming from community members, stopped without cause and asked to prove their legal status.
You're only speaking up because this is happening to the cops. Others will say that we're speaking out against ICE, and that means we want rapists on the street. Neither of those things are true.
Chiefs stress they support lawful immigration enforcement, but say these tactics violate civil rights and are undoing years of trust building between police and the communities they serve.
Today, that trust is being damaged, broken, by the questionable and sometimes unethical actions of some federal agents.
I asked Sheriff Witt if some of these unlawful actions could have to do with the variety of federal agencies on the ground, different training, different tactics. She questioned the vetting process and if the training is as rigorous as in the past. Border Patrol Commander Greg Bovino was asked to respond to what happened in the Brooklyn Park incident just a short time ago. He didn't answer directly, saying that the agencies will continue to conduct their legal Title VIII mission. Aaron?
Okay, we'll keep asking the questions. Thanks, Derek. Attorney General Pam Bondi is promising to investigate and prosecute protesters who entered a St. Paul church on Sunday.
And just a few minutes ago, a few of those protesters spoke out. Senior investigative reporter Jennifer Merrily is following this story, and she joins us now from Minneapolis. Hi there, Jen.
Hi. Well, some of the people who were in that church and who planned that on Sunday are now calling for the resignation of one of the pastors of City's Church in St. Paul. That's where they walked into during the Sunday service. What they've told us is that David Easterwood is a pastor at City's Church, as well as the acting field director of the ICE office in St. Paul. Let's take a look at some of the video from Sunday from inside that church as people enter. What we're told from people here today is that they went into the church and were quiet, and then when they were talking about something during the sermon, they spoke up and started to ask questions. That's when things, they say, escalated. They started chanting. Some members of the church were chanting. Now, the Department of Justice has said that they will investigate this. The St. Paul Police Department says they are also looking into this as an active investigation for disorderly conduct. But what they are saying today, the people here from the Racial Justice Network, from Black Lives Matter Minnesota, is that they went to say they want this pastor to resign, that this is a conflict of interest. Take a listen.
We are asking City's Church to operate in truth and integrity and the true meaning of the gospel, and to recognize that David Easterwood's dual role as a pastor and as the director of the ICE office is a most definite conflict of interest, and it cannot stand.
Now, we are also hearing from the church for the first time today. Their statement says, in part, invading a church service to disrupt the worship of Jesus or any other act of worship is protected by neither the Christian scriptures nor the laws of this nation. We'll be sure to get that full statement with this web story online. I asked the folks here if they are concerned about an investigation into their actions, and they said there are several investigations into several people across the United States, basically saying they're not concerned at this point. This is what they needed to do, is what they told us today. We'll toss it back to you in the studio.
All right. Thank you, Jen.